That is what I'm doing. So that way, if you guys want to, you can see this again. Quick introduction about me. I'm Ben, and I've connected to a lot of things around town and have been for, this is my 24th year of business. I own an IT company, a telephone company. I own this property here of Brook Point, and I've been just doing classes over the last 24, 25 years every now and then with technology. And Bitcoin is one of those things that it took me a long time to wrap my head around it. And so that's why I kind of wanted to just let people know where the future of money is going to go and why you need to know what it is. So without further ado, why I'm giving the class is I want to make sure that as many people can get knowledge about Bitcoin as possible. How in one shape or another, cryptocurrencies will be around forever from this point in time, and I'm going to go into what cryptocurrencies are here in a little bit. Bitcoin is one of them. The everyday value of cryptocurrencies are expanding as more and more people are putting money into them, which is making the price go up. Benson Communications began offering current computer classes it needs about 21, 22, several years ago. And I need to make sure that I'm very clear. I am not a financial advisor, and you need to make sure that you get your own tax advice, and it's not from me. So all I'm here is just to educate you about what Bitcoin is. So what I'm not going to do as part of this class, I'm not going to sell you any Bitcoins. I'm not going to sell you on anything, suggesting that you purchase, buy any currency without first talking to a financial advisor. Hint to that is most financial advisors would tell you no. But offering any assistance in purchasing coins, selling mining equipment, or providing tax advice. So now that that disclaimer is out there, we're going to begin with some questions and answers. We're going to go back to the basics of what money is and what it isn't. Money is an item or verifiable record that is generally accepted as payment for goods and services as repayment of debts in a particular country or socioeconomic context. That came right from Wikipedia. That is what money is, the definition of that. How much money does the US federal government print every day? And I think everyone in this room understands that it prints way too much, and it prints constantly. These statistics are actually very difficult to find on purpose. The most recent information that I was able to find from the Treasury Department was December 1st, 2015, of how much money the Bureau of Engraving and Printing delivered, approximately 6.6 billion notes to the Federal Reserve, which is about approximately 24.8 million notes a day with a face value of 560 million or 260 billion in 2014. So we all know that that's a lot more now. And when I say that there's 24.8 million notes, that could be a dollar bill, that could be a $2 bill, that could be a $5 bill, that could be a $100 bill. That's how many of those that they're printing all the time. So since then, it's been a lot more. How does money flow from the Federal Reserve to my bank? First of all, the Federal Reserve is not owned by the US government. How many people knew that? Did anybody know that? Good. Okay. The government talks about the Federal Reserve a lot, and they are kind of like this, but they truly are a separate company. And ironically, if you ever want to do some research on that, most of the owners of the Federal Reserve are not public information. It's completely hidden from the public. So, but the Federal Reserve, how does money get from the Federal Reserve to my bank? The US paper currency is technically a Federal Reserve note, printed by the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, which they're authorized to do. If the demand for cash, the banks go to the Fed and ask for more paper notes, and that is amount deducted from the bank's cash reserves. So when you put money in that bank account, and that money is then used to loan out to other people for your loans and things like that, for houses, if they do not have enough of those funds, they can go get more from the Fed. And that's how that process has worked. And then they have to pay interest on that, which is how you get that interest rate that the government gives for that. So how many physical currencies are there in the world? The United States counts for one of 180 current currencies across the world, as recognized by the United Nations. The British pound is the world's oldest and dates back to the 8th century. The newest currency in the world is the South Sudanese pound by 2011. So there's quite a few different countries that have currency. The US dollar is right now used and traded worldwide. And that's the only thing that keeps our dollar afloat, is the fact that we are utilizing that dollar and trading, and other countries use that trade. So, what percentage of the US dollar is backed by the US gold? Does anybody have any idea what percent is? Okay, so in 2012, 4.46% of dollars was backed by the US by gold. But sometime early this decade, that percentage dropped to a level that is no longer measurable. So it's become a fiat currency because it is backed by nothing. Nobody really knows when it is because the percentage is so small. So what is the difference between cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and regular government crypto or currencies? Bitcoin, like many cryptocurrencies, is owned by no one. The coin supply is limited and controlled by no one. The price is controlled by the market. Government currencies are controlled by that government. They just keep printing that money and they can control that supply. How many cryptocurrencies are there? Does anybody have a guess? Bitcoin is one of, yes. There is, as of April 2024, there's now over 10,000 different cryptocurrencies. As of February 2021, there were 4,500. And not all of them will survive, and new ones come and go all the time. Bitcoin is one of the original, and so that is why it is so well known. Coins, coins, coins. Bitcoin is obviously one of those cryptocurrencies. So let's talk a little bit about what Bitcoin is now. Bitcoin was created by someone called Satoshi Nakamoto. No one knows for sure who this is, or even if it was just one person, or if it is a group of people. The code was published in 2009. And that was the last that anyone heard of this person. So then you're like, boy, that's kind of crazy. Bitcoin will only ever have 21 million coins. So as Elon Musk just said, let that sink in for a little bit. There's 21 million Bitcoin. That's it. But Ben, how can there only be 21 million coins? There's not enough supply for everyone to have one. That's the point. Bitcoin is different than the US dollar. The US dollar goes out to 2 decimal points, which is what we call a penny. Bitcoin goes out 8 decimal places, which is called a Satoshi. The price of Bitcoin has changed a lot this week, but 1 Satoshi is roughly that much, 0.00069 of a dollar. So it's pretty low. The current price of Bitcoin is actually $63,000. I didn't update this today, but that price changes 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And the last time I did a class, it was $11,503. That was the last day of the class that I had. A new blockchain is mined every 10 minutes, creating about 6.25 coins. So a lot of people, when I talk to them about Bitcoin, they're like, yeah, so what? It's got 21 million coins. Next year, they're just going to create 22. And then the next year, there'll be 23. And the next year, 24. It doesn't work that way. The code doesn't work that way. And I'm going to go into how it doesn't here in a little bit. But mathematically, 6.25 coins are mined every 10 minutes. And that 10 minutes is a calculation based upon how many of those computers that are sitting out there mining Bitcoin. So has anybody heard of a halvening coming up? So the halvening is coming up pretty soon. And that means that 6.25 coins is going to get split into half. And so it'll be 3.123 coins every 10 minutes is reduced. Every 4 years, it halves again. So it's not like a stock split. I've had several people message me. It's like, oh, I'll just wait until the stock split. But that's not a thing. This is not a stock. This is a currency. And what that means is it becomes more and more rare because there's less and less coins going into the market every 10 minutes. What dictates that 10 minutes is it boils down to how many of these computers are out there and complex problems. So I'll go into that more. What's interesting is the last Bitcoin will be mined in the year 2145. That's a long time from now. Every one of us will be dead. By March 2024, 95% of all the Bitcoins had already been released. That means in March, there were 19,950,000 Bitcoins available. So there are 3 parts to Bitcoin and pretty much any cryptocurrency. There's your wallet, ledger nodes, and miners. So the first thing is a digital wallet. A digital wallet you can access on your computer, you can access on your smartphone, you can store them on a piece of paper, which I'll go into a little bit in more detail. But these are like a virtual online bank account. You know, if you have a Lake City Bank account, you go online you open up to lakecitybank.com and you type in your username and your password, and you can see how much or how little money that you have, right? With this, you don't go to a website. You don't go to bitcoin.com to find out how much Bitcoin you have. You go to an online wallet or to a hard wallet. And I'll show several different types here in a little bit. So Bitcoins are held in a digital wallet. They cannot be stored in banks like we store money today. You're on your own for keeping track of your Bitcoin. No one else will keep track of that for you, unless you buy from an exchange, which I'll go into. That is the first part, is where you store your money. The second is a ledger node. This is a computer. It is not a complex computer, it is a computer. It runs software all the time. This computer keeps track of all money that's sent from one person to another person. So, you're familiar with this, right? Right? Remember how this tape just keeps track of every record that you've done? That is exactly what a ledger node does. It keeps track of this person sent this money to this person. The next line, this person sent this money to this person. These ledger nodes keep track of all of these transactions from the very beginning of time till the end of whenever Bitcoin is no longer used. So if you move money, if I give Weston money today, that Bitcoin will forever be tracked on who's owned that piece of that Bitcoin for eternity. So it's not like if I come up here and give Weston $1, the federal government doesn't know that I gave Weston $1, but in Bitcoin, that's tracked that says this was given to Weston. So the nodes host the Bitcoin blockchain. The blockchain is that tape. That's all that the blockchain is. So if you ever hear the word a blockchain, that blockchain is just keeping track of who has spent what money and who sent what money. So the miners and the wallets connect to the nodes to verify transactions. We're going to go into miners here in a little bit. Anyone with a desktop computer can run a Bitcoin node, although you're not paid for running a node. It's not something that you get paid for. It's just people that are hobbyists that enjoy the concept of Bitcoin that can have their own node. Right now, I think there are, I have to go back, but I think there's 30,000 online nodes throughout the world. So Lake City Bank, for example, they have servers in the cloud, but they have about 6 or 7 servers that keep track of your money. Bitcoin is spread out, that ledger is spread out over 30,000 computers. Miners, all transactions are stored within a continuous blockchain, that piece of paper. Miners then solve complex math problems, and whoever solves the problem first is rewarded. When they get rewarded, they get that 6.25 Bitcoin. Now, their job when they're trying to solve those complex problems is they are putting all of those transactions that is part of that ledger node into a very complex formula that then gets put part of as the blockchain. It just keeps going. We'll go into it a little bit more. Miners take a specific number of transactions and reference previous block, and after roughly 1 trillion or so guesses, the fastest person gets that money. Because each block references another block, just one block cannot be changed. All the other blocks have to be changed. So I'm going to show you a picture here that shows that. Blockchain mining, they generate massive amount of heat. They cost money, upfront cost, and they cost a lot in electricity. That right there is a miner. And that is an S9. It's an older model, but that roughly right now, to fire that up would generate enough heat in this room that it would probably get this room to probably 100 degrees in probably an hour. It produces lots of heat. It will take up the same amount of electricity as 2 space heaters running continuously. And the loud, it's very loud. I use them to heat my garage in the wintertime. So I know it sounds kind of crazy, but so you're like, well, if I have a miner at home, Ben, I want to buy one of those and I want to go put that in my garage at home. Be my guest. However, you need to know that having one of those will make you 0.0001 Bitcoin every 6 months. So at that cost, it doesn't really make sense to have one of those. It would take a lot. That's why that's no longer plugged in. So did I lose anybody? Probably some of you. Here's an example. If Alice wants to send money, the first block is created and represents the transaction of Alice sending money over to here. The block is then sent to every person, every one of the nodes. And in those, the network, the miners, they go to validate that money wasn't spent already. So remember how there's that log that goes for every single person. The miner's job is to make sure that no one ever double spends the money. And it goes back and it references all of the transaction ledger to do that. Once it's been done, then they put a permanent record into that, and then that person then receives the money. So for me to send money from one person to another person it's been a while since I've actually done that, but the last time I did it took roughly about an hour and a half for that money to get sent from one person to another. So some of them it just depends on how many transactions there are in the network, and but it will eventually go. But it's before that person receives that money, it will say that the money is good or the money has been spent. Because there are people out there that try to, I'm going to pay you in Bitcoin, those different things, and then reality is they're just trying to send you Bitcoin that's actually already been spent. And then by the time you're like, oh, okay, I got this, I'll release payment, or release for the goods or services or whatever that is. So this is what a transaction looks like. There's a lot more to it, but this address sent that much Bitcoin to this address at that time. That's what a transaction looks like. Do you notice that it doesn't say John Smith and it doesn't say Benjamin Franklin? So who is this? No idea. And that's how Bitcoin works. So you would receive one of these for your wallet. So if you want to send that to somebody, you would have to get that address. Do you notice that it's uppercase, lowercases, uppercase, lowercase? If you were to put this in as an uppercase, this person would never receive that money. So is there risk? Absolutely, there's risk. Absolutely. That's why most of the time, if you ever send money on Bitcoin or another cryptocurrency, they have QR codes because it fills in this information. So you definitely don't want to type that in. because, yeah, you just not get it. So that's another example. You can see how the transaction, every time you open up your wallet, you can actually get a new one of these addresses for your wallet. So anytime that I get money from somebody, it's a new address. It's a new address, even though I can have multiple addresses tied to that wallet. So Bitcoin stats. This is a couple days old, but there was $143 or 143 BTC. So there's 143 Bitcoins that were given to miners in compensation. Why are they compensated? Because they cost a ton of money to run. So people aren't doing it for free. They're not doing it just for the fun of it. Would you just randomly have, 2 space heaters running in your house just for the fun of it? No, you're going to get compensated for it. Banks are not being compensated for it. We are being compensated for it. So there were 348,000 transactions that occurred in Bitcoin. That could be $1. It wouldn't be $1, but it could be a small amount. It could be all the way up into the billions, and there's billions of dollars being transferred in Bitcoin constantly. For example, and I can tell this now because the person is actually dead, unfortunately, but the person that bought the industrial park, part of Travelite, he paid for the properties with Bitcoin. So there is money that's being used to do buying and selling of transactions. Let's see, $7.23 billion traded hands. And just in that time period, 1.9 billion, that was the average several years ago. So more and more money is being used and put across. So the average cost of $145 per transaction. You can write out a check a whole lot cheaper, right? But you're taking that check from your account and putting it over here. So, and now the government knows that you wrote a check from here to there. In Bitcoin, you don't have that. So let's see, there was 1 million miners. Now, what's interesting is there were 2 million in 2019. So the number of these people that are the devices out there is less than there was then. Why is that? Cost of electricity. There's more powerful miners. So they get the more powerful computer that you have, the faster you can get work done. Well, if you have a faster Bitcoin mining machine, you're going to make more money than the person that doesn't have one. So it boils down to, I don't have those plugged in anymore because it's cheaper for me to buy Bitcoin than it is for me to mine Bitcoin. So, so the current market cap of Bitcoin right now is $1.4 trillion. The last class, it was 884 billion. So that has gone up a lot. Ethereum, which is the number 2, it's the second most popular. If I could suggest coins to get interested in and understand, would be these top 2 coins. So you can see that this has actually changed quite a bit too. It went from 169 to 434. So the adoption rate is much more. If you think Bitcoin is complicated, once you start researching Ethereum, it's much more complicated than Bitcoin, but it has its own purposes. For example, when I send money on Bitcoin from me to Weston, that's transaction that is recorded in the node, but it has what's called smart contracts in there, and it can verify that things have been completed and then release funds. So that's just one example of what smart contracts. I can do a lot more than that, but so you'll see more and more information about that type of stuff coming out through the next several years. There's Tether, Beyonce, and then Solana. This wasn't even in the top 10 or 4 years ago. So let's see. So these are the highs that Bitcoin ever reached in these years. So 2024, it's $73,000 a coin. 2023, $42,000. 22. You can see that's fluctuated a little bit. 2019. 10,000, 19,000. You see a big difference there. 300, 750, 650, $13 and $1. I got involved in Bitcoin here. That's when I got involved. But the problem is when I got involved in Bitcoin, The miners were little USB disks that you just plugged into your computer, and you couldn't buy Bitcoin anywhere at all. You either mined it or you bought it from some sketchy person on eBay. Very risky. So it was very difficult to get Bitcoin until I'd say right around this point right here, which is where you see the price jump up. So back to this. Before I go to the next slide, people ask me, where do I think that Bitcoin will go? I am 45 years old. I believe in my lifetime. I am not saying next year. I'm not saying in 10 years, but I believe in my lifetime, one Bitcoin will be worth $10 million a piece. It's a lot. Now, you can go into YouTube, pull up YouTube, find out why people think that Bitcoin will go up to that much. And it simply boils down to math. How many billionaires are there on this earth? There's a lot of billionaires. There's even more millionaires. So even if they wanted one, just one, there's not enough for them to go around. So there's a lot of math that can be done. What's starting to make this go up is a lot of pension funds, things like that are starting to buy into Bitcoin now as well. And once that hits mainstream, it's just going to keep going up. So what changed to make it go up so high? As you saw, it was 73,000. I think right now it's 63,000 something. Market adoption. You sitting in this room, it's more and more people getting to understand what Bitcoin is. That's really what it boils down to. And then you're like, man, if I get into this, I could get into the ground floor. Right now is a great day to get in. Every day. Every day under $1 million is a great day to get in. Every single day. If you have 0.01 Bitcoin, you will be in the top 1% of the world's wealth in 25 years. Just by having 0.01. That equals up to be what? $630? Isn't that what that is? Something like that. So, it's not that much money. Consumers, hearing the name, people are buying them, which is making the prices higher, and government overprinting, and now ETFs. So ETFs are simplicity thing. It allows banks and other their customers to hold on to Bitcoin without actually holding on to Bitcoin. So that is something new that made the price jump from whatever it was, $40-some thousand to $70-some thousand this year. So Bitcoin security, Bitcoin versus a bank. Banks have a couple of servers, and Bitcoin has 30,000. Where would you want to put your money? Who's been hacked? Who hasn't been? Heck, Target's been hacked. You know, every one of their transactions, every one of their credit cards that every customer has used has been hacked. Bank security can be compromised, and Bitcoin blockchain cannot be hacked as it's verified by miners. The complete blockchain is stored on every one of the 30,000 server nodes. At a bank, you can always access your account even if you forget your account number. You can show up at a bank with your driver's license and say, help, I need my money. And guess what? They're going to help you get your money, providing that you have a bank account there, right? Bitcoin funds are stored in a digital wallet that only you know. If you forget your security key, your PIN, or your password, you have lost your funds. There is no help desk. There is no one that can help you. You just lost it. All of it. Doesn't matter. What's that?
What happens to those funds?
They never get spent. They sit there. So if you really want to find some interesting things, there is a gentleman that is trying to buy a landfill right now because he has something like 10,000 Bitcoin sitting in a landfill. So, but that's a whole nother. There's horror stories about people losing wealth, about they've just lost it. So, I mean, there's one story that I read that it was somebody that stored their private key that they were giving their money to their kids, and when they passed away, the kids didn't want anything to do with the house, and they threw away the safe that had everything in it. So all of that money is just gone. And you think, oh, I can just get it back. No, you don't understand. It's tied to those unique addresses, and unless you have a photographic memory, it's done. So, There's lots of security things that you want to think about when you're storing that stuff. There's a lot of things that you have to think about when you're having a will put together. You don't give your security keys to the person that's putting your will together, because they have complete access to your funds. So, and Bitcoin might only be $73,000 now, but what happens when it is $1 million? It's a big difference. Bitcoin funds are stored in a wallet. If you forget it, you're done. Forever, no one can help you, period. I think you guys understand that now. You're not going to do it. Blockchain hacking. Blockchains are pretty hack-proof. I'm not saying that it is completely hack-proof, because there could be technology that comes out 15 years from now. When quantum computers come out, no one knows. No one knows what's going to happen. But the next graphic that I show you will kind of make sense, I think. So they're hack-proof because you would have to hack every node on the network simultaneously to replace each block with a new block. All this in the time that it takes to make a new block, 10 minutes. So let me show you a proof. I think the next one is the picture, I think, here. Yep. Okay. It's kind of a simple little picture, but it kind of gets an idea of what it is. So all of these miners are working on this. So they're taking this transaction, that transaction, that transaction, that transaction, that transaction, and they're trying to put it all together before some other miner does, right? So they're all working on the same problem. And whoever gets that done first is going to get rewarded with that block. So if you have everyone on the market, all those computers, all those miners, million miners, all doing that at the same time, and you want to change this block, how are you going to have enough computer power to do all this, all that, all that, all that, all that? Because all of this was 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes. You got 1 million computers working on that block, 1 million there, 1 million there, 1 million there. And so you have to change every one of those blocks all the way back to here to get to this one. It's impossible. There's not enough computer power to make that happen. So why is it secure? It's because there's not enough computers on the network to do that. You couldn't just say, I'm the world's wealthiest man, I'm Elon Musk, and I'm going to go buy every ant mining machine in the world. It doesn't matter. You can't buy 1 million of them. And even if you did, you bought 1 million of those ant miner machines. You've got other miners that are out there like me that are mining product as well. Well, we're not going to just, say, okay, we're going to unplug our miners so you can do whatever you want. Doesn't work that way. Nobody wants to do that because we're compensated to keep it running. So, like I said, you'd have to change all those changes and redo all the computations for blocks, because it's roughly, remember, it's about 1 trillion combinations that those miners are doing every 10 minutes. And that's 18 blocks of expensive computer power. What's worse is they'd have to do it all before anybody else in the Bitcoin network finished just one block, that one. So there's just, they couldn't get to all of it in time. So Bitcoin blockchain now resides in space. You can get a Blockstream satellite and you can turn up a node in your house and have a complete record of every Bitcoin transaction. Why you'd want to do that, I don't know, but some rich dude put it up there. So what is hackable? Your wallet. If you're careless, if you leave your password for your wallet in your Gmail account and your Gmail account is hacked, boom, your money's gone. Probably not where I'd put your wallet password. So no one can help you. It's done. So why would someone want to be in Bitcoin? No one knows who you are. No one cares. The value will increase because there's only so many Bitcoin, which there's only 21 million Bitcoin. And it's a safety net like gold and silver. It's being called the digital gold. That's what it's being called. Payment is accepted globally with zero exchange rate issues. So I could exchange that money with somebody in China, and it's just 1 Bitcoin for them is 1 Bitcoin for us. So reasons why. It is like an online savings account, but you don't get interest because you're just holding Bitcoin. Who gets paid? The miners. You're not a miner. You're just holding on Bitcoin. So there will never be an interest-bearing savings account. And if there is, I would stay clear of it because that means that they own your Bitcoin. What's the purpose of Bitcoin is for you to have it, not for somebody else to have it. It is accessible anytime, anywhere in the world, at any time with an internet connection. What happens if the world goes out and we lose electricity throughout the whole world? I'm pretty sure we're going to have other problems other than you can't access your Bitcoin. You're not going to access any money at Lake City Bank. You're going to have whatever you have in your shoebox at the foot of your bed. That's what you're going to have. Transactions happen within hours across the network at low fees, and no government controls Bitcoin. Now, I believe that the government was shorting, so to speak, Bitcoin over the last 10 years to keep the adoption rate and people out of it. But, yeah. So what are the risks? Support could move away from Bitcoin and go to another cryptocurrency, and the value could decrease or disappear. Absolutely. I would love it if Bitcoin went back down to $1,000. I'd be tickled pink because I'm just going to buy more of it. You know, the internet could die and you could not access your coins. But if you don't have internet, most people won't even have a job anymore, except for Terry. He still delivers mail. So you could lose all your password and wallet, sign in, and never access it again. Let's see. You could die and not tell anyone you have Bitcoins. What a terrible thing. You spend all this money and then somebody dies, you know, and you don't tell anybody that you even have it. So banks locate next of kin. So if you die and you have money at Lake City Bank, as an example, they're going to try to get you that money to the next of kin. You know, especially if your name, if they're on there. Bitcoin, however, will sit in your wallet for infinity, waiting for somebody to spend it, because it doesn't know who you are. It doesn't know you died. It's built to withstand forever. So each and every Bitcoin or partial coin that gets lost means there is less and less Bitcoins in circulation. Think about how many tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin. If I had to guess, I would venture to believe that probably 2 to 3 million Bitcoiners lost forever. If I had to guess, based upon just from what I see, and nobody knows, because how would you know? People aren't going to say that I own Bitcoin. You know, who's going to say that? They're not. So it's like it's not like losing a penny on the ground. Oops. So a penny on the ground today is a penny on the ground, but that 0.01 Bitcoin today is worth $72. It's actually $63 or whatever it is. No, it'll be 670 some. Tomorrow it might be worth 10,000. So, how to get started? You have to get a wallet. There's several different wallets that you can get. You can get a hot wallet, a web-based website that requires multiple passwords to get in. You can get yourself a cold wallet, a device that holds your keys, or you can get yourself a really cold wallet that's a piece of paper. And you can actually store Bitcoin on a piece of paper. So it sounds kind of crazy, but there's a picture of it here in just a little bit. So that's a hard wallet. It's basically, I don't like the idea of it, but there are some people in the cryptocurrency world that they love this. If you put in the wrong password here, this device will be locked out forever. So there's risks everywhere, because if you put your paper wallet in your safe at home and you're robbed, well, they have access to all your Bitcoin. So there's things that you can do, like you put your hardware wallet ID here and your password here. So you have to tell whoever that's going to be alive that information. So the next thing, this is actually a piece of paper that has a wallet. Do you remember how I told you a QR code? Well, if you look right here, this is the Bitcoin address right here, and this is your private key. That's your password. So if they have this and this, they can spend that money. But you can give this address to anybody and they can send you money. So you can actually get Bitcoin on a piece of paper. Not where I would recommend starting, but second, you got to get Bitcoins. You can purchase them with your credit card. You can exchange them with currency traders. You can go to Bitcoin ATM. Anybody ever heard of a Bitcoin ATM? Several. I think Fort Wayne has like 80 of them There's one in Goshen. I'll never forget. I did it as a kid's example. I dropped off whatever it was, like $400 at an ATM, and I told my kids about that, and that money is worth something like $20,000 today. By just putting that money in, then it grows. So, well, providing that the market goes up. So you can always do a Bitcoin ATM. I don't know if I would suggest it, especially getting started, but you can definitely do it. Obviously, if there's Bitcoin ATM machines going up everywhere, people are using them. So you can buy an exchange. Who's heard of Coinbase? Okay. Coinbase is an exchange. You open up a Coinbase account, bam, it's done. You can hit buy, link it to your bank account, and buy. It's really easy, really, really easy. I will say this is a precaution. If anybody has a Coinbase account, I think it's line 17 or line 7 or 8 on your tax return, has a tiny little checkbox that says, do you have cryptocurrency? If you have a Coinbase and you write no, you will get audited. It's a trap. Because Bitcoin or Coinbase and the government are like this. So, but it's a good place to get started. It's a very good place to get started. Or you can start mining. Mining takes some education, but I will tell you everything you want to know is about how to start mining. All of that stuff is on YouTube. That's how I learned how to do it. Of course, YouTube really wasn't really too prevalent then at that time, but let's see. Third, you need to spend or save your Bitcoin. I believe it's generational wealth. That's why I do Bitcoin. I don't do Bitcoin for me. I do it for my grandkids. And my kids are like, what do you mean? But too bad for you. It's so sad. You can use it to pay for hotel stays, coffee trips. I would not use it for coffee, but merchandise. You can actually get mobile phone service. You can get satellite phone service with Bitcoin. It was designed as a store of wealth, not for daily transactions. Bitcoin was not designed for that, not at all. There are other cryptocurrencies that transact immediately. Bitcoin, if you remember right, it takes like an hour to 2 hours for that transaction to happen. Well, how are you going to wait out in front of your hotel for an hour and a half before your money gets to the hotel? Or are you just going to swipe your Visa card and just go get your room? So, let's see. Need help? You can text me, you can email me. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. This video will be on my YouTube channel tonight. And then you can follow me on Twitter or Facebook. What questions do you have? Any part that was confusing? All of it?
How is AI affected?
It is not, because AI is not a mining device. I mean, it's a very good question. Will it? No, it won't affect cryptocurrencies at all. The only fear is quantum computers, and no one even knows for sure if that technology will work. That is one of those things that I'm not sure if anybody knows what a quantum computer is, but a computer is built upon a 0 and a 1. The light switch is on or it's off. That's a computer, and those computers are doing all of those different light switches on and off, on and off, on and off, and that provides a value. On and off provides a value. A quantum computer is both. There is no light switch. The light switch is on. The light switch is off, and all of it at the same time. Which in our feeble brains, it's kind of hard to wrap our head around. The idea is how can it be on and off at the same time? That's a whole other can of worms. So, do we know what that will affect? Yes, there will probably be some systems that will come into place, because the only prototype quantum computer that's out there can do what a regular PC will take 200 years today to compute, whatever transaction or whatever it is, it can do that in about 10 seconds. So quantum computer is a real thing. The nice thing about it is those quantum computers would have to hack every node simultaneously. It would have to hack every one of that ledger transaction, and I believe that there'll be safety measures in place that'll happen, but I don't Nobody understands how the technology works yet, so nobody really knows. So, but AI won't affect it at all. There's lots of AI systems out there that you can use to actually trade crypto. It'll tell you when is a good time to buy, when's a bad time to buy. But it won't affect the actual currency.
So it can't help in solving the mathematical.
Nope, not at all. In fact, inside of this miner you guys have heard of a computer? Inside of that computer is what's called video cards. And the video cards is what runs to the screen. Well, inside of this miner is 16 video cards. That's all it is. There's no computer processor in this thing. It's just video cards. And that's why if anybody has ever heard of NVIDIA, if that NVIDIA term, it's because they make the microchips for the AI computers and for it's because it's graphical. Those processors are faster than a central processing, which is a CPU. GPUs are way faster. And so that's why NVIDIA they're a huge company now. But AI runs off of a CPU, not a GPU. So AI will use GPUs to do some of its processing, but it actually runs on the CPU. That's a good question, though. Anybody else?
What's the difference, like, on Coinbase? You got some of the stuff's like this on your Coinbase, but they don't.
So the Coinbase wallet, I look at it's the same thing because you don't have your own private keys. I think they do it to make you feel safer, but in reality, unless you have that private key, you don't own. You don't. That's just a passphrase. That's not your private keys. There's a difference between a phrase and private keys. Your phrase is to secure your Coinbase account, but the passphrase is just like a long digit to get.
Some of the stuff on Coinbase you can't put over your wallet and vice versa.
Yeah, you can absolutely.
One better than the other?
I mean, I put money in Coinbase so that way I can check that box.
Yeah.
But that's the only reason I use Coinbase. So I don't really do a lot there. It's a great place to get started. And I think truly if you were just wanted to do it simple, just put it in Coinbase and then it's there. But you do have all of your risk of Coinbase going out of business.
Right.
The government could take them over and say, you know what, no more.
Then what's a safer place to?
Some sort of either a hardware wallet or a paper wallet or a cold storage wallet. There's desktop apps that you can buy that you can actually put your own wallet in that. So there's a lot of other places that you can do it, like blockchain.info. But I think right now, if you want to start up an account there, I think you have to show ID, which once you show ID, it's, yeah. So
I've been trying to buy it from Coinbase on Uniswap. Uniswap's more of a DeFi.
Yep.
Centralized.
Yeah. Robinhood didn't actually have enough money to fulfill orders a couple weeks ago. So they just had no money to do it. So people think it's like, oh, I'll keep it here. Robinhood is not a place to go. So.
Well, Uniswap is being.
Yep. The government is trying to keep control of who has access to things and who doesn't, and that's why Coinbase and the government are like this. So.
I had a similar question about that too. Exchange and the Coinbase wallet. Those
Yep.
are two separate things.
In Coinbase. Yeah.
Well, they're
No.
separate things.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
one is the exchange.
Yep.
And you can transfer everything into your Coinbase wallet.
Right.
Which has the, 12,
The passphrase.
Yes.
Yes.
The passphrase, but then it has a really long, code like you showed too.
Yes, that's probably your address for that wallet.
Okay.
But I guarantee you Coinbase does not give you the private keys. Not at all. And that's the private keys are what
They're saying that's like a hot wallet or whatever.
it is. It is 100% a hot wallet, but it's still in control of them. Unless you have what's called the keys, it doesn't matter. Passphrase is not the same as a key. You have to have both. What's that? Bingo, bingo, bingo. So I would never put all of my money in like Coinbase or anything like that. Nothing like that. It's like I said, it's a great place to get started. My pool guy in Florida, he called me the other day. He's like, I did it, man. I finally bought some. And I'm like, go you. That's awesome. So it's a good way to get started because it's really easy to set up a bank account. The last time I did it, I think from the time I set up Coinbase to the time I had some crypto was probably less than 5 minutes. So it's pretty easy to do. So, yeah. But I would research, there's lots of different options for hardware wallets and offline wallets.
That's what you type in to research that type of wallet.
Cold storage wallets. Yep, cold storage wallets. Let's see if I can go back to that screen here. Not sure where it is. Let's see here. Maybe one more back. Yeah. I don't remember where it is. There was I probably went past it here. The paper one, you can do that. You can get, what I would Google is hardware wallets, offline wallets, and possibly paper storage wallets. Try to stay, you can look for some of the online ones, but the online ones are almost no different than Coinbase. So there's a couple out there, but not something I would recommend you say you should go do this. I would not feel safe saying that. But I would just stay away from those devices that I showed you.
You say you have that hard wallet, you want to sell or buy or something, you have to platform, right?
Correct. Yeah. And then in order to have a platform, you have to sign up with the government to say that you're doing that. So now you could also, if you had a paper wallet, you could actually send money from an ATM right to that paper wallet. You could do that. So it's not about, it boils down to why am I involved in Bitcoin is because I don't feel safe with where the US government is going with the dollars.
But yet the US government, they want to know everything that goes on here, so.
Well, it boils down to they want to know everything that's going on with Coinbase. And it boils down to that dollar will eventually become worthless. They're going to crash it and then they're going to come up with a digital dollar. That's what will happen. It's not really launched yet, but yes, they do have one. And that's what they want to do is they want to be able to get you there. So what is the difference is people that know will have their store of wealth in crypto and Bitcoin, and they're going to have that value is just going to keep increasing because the dollar is going to be worthless. So that's the big thing. It's to not, if you've got $100,000 sitting in a bank account at like Lake City Bank, you're losing what is inflation right now, 7.8% in purchasing power. So
you don't have to pay taxes on it. You sell it. So if you
correct.
So if you
Correct.
Ring AI at this and it goes up, whatever.
Yes.
You made a bunch of money, you pull it out and transfer it.
Yes. So technically, yes, that is a taxable event. It is. The government would say that you have to pay taxes on that. Yes. Yeah. Now, if you sell the Bitcoin, if you're selling one asset and going into another, it's a taxable event. Yes. Yes. Now, if you're going from one Bitcoin wallet to another Bitcoin wallet, then that's not a taxable event. So, but what you're going to see is you're going to see a lot of people, if you remember right, in about 10 to 15 years, there's going to be $33 trillion transfer hands from the baby boomers to the next generation. So there's going to be a lot of people that are going to pass money from that generation to the other generation, and they're going to get it so that way they don't have to pay as much taxes on it. So, yeah.
There'd be a transaction fee.
There is. Yep, there is. Because it doesn't know that you're taking it from you to you. It's going from one wallet to another. So yes, there would be a fee. So, and it depends on how busy the network is and how much it would cost.
Slippage.
Yep.
Sometimes it's
Sometimes higher than lower. Yep, absolutely. So yeah, one time I moved money from one wallet to another wallet, and it cost me like $95, and I'm like, oh, that's a lot. It's just a little bit safer. I just moved it from one. What's that?
Who's collecting that?
Miners. The miners get that. They get compensated for that. So
Converted into Bitcoin.
it's converted to Bitcoin. Yep. And then so like if I had miners, I'm part of a pool, and then I get so much percent of what they find, how many Bitcoin they collect, and so then that's how I get that money. And then you would get so much money per day in mining. So, but when I say it's small, it's like 0.00001. It's really small. In 2017, when I bought one of those machines, it cost me $3,300. I don't know if it's that one, and at that time I was able to, when you had it on, you could make 0.01 Bitcoin every 18 hours. And now it's nothing like that at all. There's just so many more miners. And the technology's changed a lot. Because I don't know, what miner size are they up to? Do you know? This is at S9. I know for sure they have S19s. So, and those cost even more money to run. So it's kind of crazy. I was, a friend of mine, he worked for me for a little bit, and he left spontaneously, and it was just really weird. I'm sure you've heard of the ghosting term, when employees ghost people. So he reached out to me like a month and a half later, and he says, hey, he's like, I want to show you what I'm doing now. He's like, I'm sorry about leaving, but I had no choice. He's like, I couldn't tell you where I was going. He says, but you need to come to this address, right? And I'm like, okay, I go to this address. It's freaking in the middle of nowhere in, I can't even remember the name of the company now, or the town. I couldn't find it now if I probably had to. But they are the largest power consumption of Rochester Power Company. And it's out in the middle of freaking nowhere. And it's an old chicken coop, but yet they are now like the third or fourth highest erythium farming mine. And it's just right, 40 minutes away from here. Massive. I mean, massive. The amount of electricity. They had to bring in a new power generator just to generate enough electricity for them. So, but they were making in mining fees something like $400,000 a day. So, well worth it.
Now, does every crypto have a just a certain amount?
Not everyone, but a lot of them have a dedicated amount. And they say when the code is created, how many that there will be. Not all of them. There's some that'll just create new coins. And I'm like, what's the point? I might as well just put in the dollar. So, yeah. But what's neat about Bitcoin is it's one of the originals, and it has a very limited supply. So get yourself 0.01 Bitcoin, you'll be set. I mean, that's the way to do it. So what other questions? I don't want to take too much of your time. So hopefully you learned something. Yeah. So, and the video will be available. So if you want to, you can message me or whatever, find me. I can get you that video. So, well, thanks for coming. Really appreciate your time. Yeah.